Can you retire on $500,000? This is the first video that we're going to have in a new series where we go over, can you retire on X amount of dollars? So this is the first one, $500,000. Without further ado, let's dig into it. So can you retire on $500,000? What would that retirement picture actually look like? So today we're going to be using Mr. and Mrs. Baker as our example. So the first thing that we want to do is get a lay of the land and see what their financial picture is. So Mr. and Mrs. Baker are both 65 and retired, and Mr. Baker has $150,000 in a RIF and $100,000 in a tax-free savings account. And Mrs. Baker has the exact same thing. So $150,000 in the RIF and $100,000 in a tax-free savings account. So today, between all those accounts, they have $500,000 in their personal savings. And together, they jointly own their home with no debt against it, valued at $450,000. So their total net worth today is $950,000. So moving forward, what does their retirement picture look like? So we need to make some assumptions. The first one being their life expectancy. They both expected to live until age 90. The value of their home, we can expect that to continue growing at a rate of 3%. We expect their investments, so that's the money that they have in their tax-free savings account and RIFs, to grow at a rate of 5%. We expect inflation to be at 4% moving forward. Again, so this means their expenses every year are going to grow by a 4% rate. CPP, they both already started at 65, with Mr. Baker receiving 80% of the maximum, which is just over $1,000, and Mrs. Baker receiving 90% of the maximum, which is just over $1,100. And they're both receiving their old age security, which is, again, monthly $686. So can they retire on $500,000? And the answer to that is it depends. Everyone's retirement is going to look different. So how much are they actually going to be able to spend based on their financial picture and these assumptions? So the first scenario that we're going to look like is just assuming that their expenses stay level throughout retirement. So beginning at age 65 until age 90. Again, these expenses would grow with inflation, but we're just going to use today's numbers. So if they were spending $4,775 per month, that would sustain them from 65 until 90. And then once they're 90, they'd be out of money. So there's no money left in their TFSA or RIFs. They would still have CPP, OAS, and the value of their home at that point, which would be worth $960,000. So again, today their home's worth $450,000, but 25 years down the road, again, assuming a rate of 3% growth, their house is going to be worth $960,000. So can they retire on $500,000? If they think their expenses are within this range, then absolutely yes. So another scenario that we wanted to look at is, for most people in retirement, they have different phases. So they might have a go-go phase where they're doing lots of travel and doing more things with their grandkids and friends and going out and doing more while they're still young and healthy. We have a slow go phase where maybe there's still a bit of travel, but maybe not as much as before. And then a no-go phase where maybe travel is not occurring anymore. So if we put together a scenario like this, they could start off their retirement spending $5,300 a month. So let's say from age 65 to 75, and then that would slow down at 75 to $4,600 a month until age 83. And then from age 83 to 90, they would be down to $4,100 per month. So in both of these scenarios, they would pass away with just the value of their home left, which again is worth $960,000. So two different ways to look at retirement: just having a level amount or spending more at the beginning while you're still young and healthy to enjoy it. So you can also use both of these scenarios if you don't own a home. So let's just use scenario 2 here. So $5,300 a month. If your rent is $2,000 a month, then you would have $3,300 a month that you could spend. And then once your expenses are down to $4,600 a month, assuming your rent is still $2,000, you'd have $2,600 a month, so on and so forth. So in this second scenario, what does their retirement paycheck actually look like? So again, this is their inflows that we're looking at here. So CPP and OAS. So CPP combined, they'd be getting about $23,000, and then their OAS just over $14,000. So from government pensions alone, they would be receiving about $37,500 per year. We'd also be making some withdrawals. So the RIF minimums from their both of their RIFs And then we're going to top that up from their tax-free savings account. So their total inflows for the year would be just over $65,000. Their expenses, $63,600. So that's equal to $5,300 a month, which is what we're looking at. A bit of tax owing. And so their total outflows, $65,354, matches their total inflows. Now, another thing we like to look at is what would happen if they both passed away. So their estate, how would that look if something happened today? So we have their registered accounts, which again are their RIFs and the TFSAs. So if they both passed away, their RIFs would become taxable in 1 year. Their principal residence was $450,000. So their total net worth, like we just looked at, $950,000. So of their net worth, the only thing that would be taxable in this scenario is both of their RIFs valued at $150,000. They would also receive each a CPP death benefit of $2,500. So that gets added as well. So their estate before any taxes and expenses is $955,000. And this would be the tax owing, again, on the RIF accounts that they have. So about $130,000. So this is, again, if they happen to pass away both this year, highly unlikely, but just good information to know. So we can actually use this info and forward it over the coming years of their retirement. So if they pass away today, again, their net worth is $826,000 after taxes, $879 once they're both 71, $928 at 77, and so on and so forth until, again, at age 90, $960,000, which is essentially the value of their home. So is there a way to improve this picture? So again, let's look at an alternative withdrawal strategy. So this is the first scenario we looked at, CPP and OAS, and then pulling out the RIF minimums from their accounts every year and then topping up with the tax-free savings account. So in this second withdrawal strategy that we can look at is, again, CPP and OAS remains the same, but rather than using their TFSAs, just using only their RIF accounts. So leaving the TFSAs to grow because they are tax-free and taking out more of their taxable money, which is in their RIF accounts. So their inflows would be a little bit higher because they'd have to pull up more from their RIFs because it's taxable to net out the same amount. So expenses are the same. The tax bill would be a little bit higher in 2022 compared to this first scenario. But overall, it's going to make a difference as far as their estate is concerned. So let's take a look at that difference. So this was the first scenario that we looked at, is taking out the minimum from their RIFs and then topping it up with the tax-free savings account. And then this second scenario is just leaving the tax-free savings account as is until the RIF accounts are depleted. So only making withdrawals from the RIF. So if they implemented this strategy today, it would have no difference. By the time they're 71, their estate would be worth about $19,000 more if they only use their RIFs to start off. By the time they're 77, their picture would improve by $36,000. At 83 would be $9,000. And then at 90, again, they're out of money. So they end up in the same scenario. So both scenarios start off the same and end the same. But if something happens to both of them along the way, they'll be better off using scenario 2, which is using their RIFs and leaving their TFSAs to grow into the future. So, and then another scenario that we looked at as far as cash flow is concerned is, what if they don't want to pass away with a $960,000 house? What if they want to use that equity so that they can live? So this would allow them to spend even more money. So in this third scenario, they could spend $6,500 a month from 65 until age 77. At that point, their tax-free savings accounts and RIFs would be depleted, and they'd be forced to sell the home, and they'd be able to spend $5,300 a month, and then they would eventually pass away with zero at age 90. So important to note here, $5,300 a month from 77 to 90, but they still need a place to live, right? So let's say, again, that costs $2,000 a month. Their net outflow would actually be only about $3,300 a month because, again, a big portion of what they have coming in has to go towards the rent. So a lot of different ways that you can structure a retirement as far as cash flow is concerned and different withdrawal strategies. But yeah, can you retire on $500,000? It depends, right? If you think these numbers are okay for your situation, then great. If you think that you want to spend more, then you'll need more than $500,000. So all of these scenarios will change and your situation will be different, again, based on these initial assumptions that we have made. So you change any of these and the scenarios we just looked at get thrown out the window. So if you think you're going to live to 95, everything looks a lot different. If you think your investments are only going to grow at 2% per year, it's going to look a lot different. If you think they're going to grow at 8% per year, well, it's going to look a lot better, right? So all these assumptions will have a very significant impact as far as what that retirement picture is actually going to look like. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I mentioned, this is a new series that we're going to be doing, looking over, can you retire on different amounts of money? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. Until next time.